All right, so it's day 9, week 2. I'm going to try and keep these videos more short and to the point. What did I learn yesterday? It's the same thing that I'm encountering that's causing me a problem, and that's where this video recording, even though no one's watching these, which is great actually in one sense, it's helpful as like a style of journaling, because I'm reflecting, and when I'm talking to the camera, it's the same thing coming out. I didn't do X because of Y. I didn't do X because of Y. It's the same thing. And so it's really highlighting to me what the problem is, what the 20% is that I need to focus on to make a difference. In the evening, and I've always had this historically, I love that time. I like to open YouTube or follow a stream. My friends do a stream twice a week, which is really interesting, and you can comment, and to be honest, I put comments in there to try to make the panel, the lead guy, laugh. I know how to tickle him, and it's quite funny seeing him, I think, trying to make quite a serious or complex point and then bursting out laughing. Silly, really. It's just I don't know, it's just like a faffing around in the evening thing, a way of de-stressing and drawing a line under the day, I suppose. As I think about it, it's a bit sad as I say this, because it's kind of costing me productivity the next day. So I do really need to address that. Yeah, I'm considering whether to just delete this, but I think I just need to be more raw. Yeah, I guess we all do things which are a bit against our better judgment. And that's one of mine, is like there is a famous promoter in the UK in boxing called Eddie Hearn. I think he's entertaining to listen to. So I listened to him, to be honest, while I was clearing the house up. So the house is spotless now, which is really nice to wake up to a clean house. But I could have gone to bed at like 9:30. I could have gone to bed at 10:30. Ended up going to bed at 11:30, which is crazy, really. There's something there that's causing me not to do that. I need to think about it. Because every time I'm in bed with this book, Atlas Shrugged, which I should be 80 pages through now, and I'm not. I'm like 30. So every time I get in bed with a book with Atlas Shrugged, I feel like so good about that, so happy, but there's just a block, something that's stopping me. It's the distraction of the phone is what it is. But why is that so appealing to me? While I just try and figure this out in this video here. I'm sure there's something to do with connecting with people online. You kind of, especially on the live stream, you're kind of interacting with the stream and they're commenting back. It's a way of connecting. The one thing I would say is the entrepreneur's life, if you're working by yourself, it can get incredibly lonely. And so any interaction, I mean, I chat to the guys at the gym. Normally when I do my workouts in the evening, I'm very, very focused on what I'm doing. And I don't really enjoy talking to anybody too much. I want to get my workout done and then crash in the sauna afterwards and just feel very satisfied about that. So yeah, I think it's a funny one, whether to just try and use willpower to strong arm it through this habit of being on the phone in the evening with YouTube in the background. I think that's like a kiss of death to going to bed early. I think I need to have maybe a hard boundary where at 9 p.m. the phone goes off. Like I have an alarm on my phone. Maybe I'll try that. I'll set the alarm after this. But that is definitely causing me. So today I woke up at 7:40, which is not terrible, but it's not the 6 a.m. I've been going for. I had a solid sleep. My sleep pattern is still all over the shop. So this is a real problem for me, evidently. I think the thing not to do is to beat yourself up, but just to be real, to see it as it is, see it how you want it to be, and then find a path to make it so. Being very clear about what you want, knowing why you want it, knowing what the block is, as I recount this strategy. So the block is, I think 9 p.m. the phone just has to go off. That has to be a hard stop. And I remember reading in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, if I go beyond that, literally verbalize it. So say, So I could say it's 9:05 p.m. and I'm choosing to stay on my phone, which I know will sabotage my ability to be in bed with a book by 9:30, which will then affect me waking up early, which will then affect my sleep regularity and my productivity the next day, which will then affect potentially my income, which will then affect my ability to say, I don't know, take my parents on a lovely holiday or something like that, you know. And as I say that, this is what I'm saying about this journaling process, or just talking on a camera, it's really helpful, yeah. So as I say that, I think, yeah, that's crazy. Why would you do that? But we're not logical creatures, we're governed by our emotions. So there is something that the phone is giving me in the evening. I think it's an escape, or as I said, a way of connecting if there's a live stream. So could I replace that with something? Maybe accountability comes to mind. I think, yeah, I'm going to reach out to my friend who I do some health coaching with and say, look, at 9 p.m. I'm going to drop you a voicemail to say I'm turning my phone off. That could be really useful. Yeah, I just thought of that. So that's why this journaling process is good, isn't it? And then the other thing which has been really helpful that I've noticed is 6.5 minutes already. So the other thing I've noticed is definitely my tendency to be a perfectionist. So watching this Iman Gadzhi digital launchpad, he goes through a day in the life of, and it's really helpful because you imagine these people to just be perfect, which even as I say that, I know it's not true, but you imagine them to be hitting such high standards all of the time. And in this day of the life, he shows you what he does in his routine. And he said, look, even if you just do your, bare ass minimum, just get this one work block done, that is a victory for the day. And for me, I would never accept that. Normally, I would say, no, it's got to be 6 solid hours of work. Otherwise, you failed. And even if I got the 6th in, I know what would happen then. It would be a case of, well, you could have done a 7th. I remember I ran a marathon inspired by Gadzhi, actually. I ran a marathon with 10 days prep, which was really quite challenging. My legs seized up totally with 6.5 miles to go. And when I say totally, I couldn't walk. I was having to hold on to the fence and stuff next to me to move forward. I was headed for a 4.5 hour, and then it ended up being 5 hours and 12 or something. It was, anyway. And at the end of that was quite a feat to run a marathon, I think, with 10 days, with no training really, 10 days. I did 2 runs or something, and I was not that fit really. I'd been doing bits and bobs at the gym, but tick over workouts. And at the end of that workout, I had a moment of my watch flashed and said, you know, distance done, congratulations. And immediately after that, I had this thought pop up in my mind of, you failed. You didn't get a sub 4 or a sub 4.5. And it thankfully, I was very aware of it, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. That I'd just done something pretty hard. Yes, it was a bad marathon time, 5 hours and 12 minutes. But nonetheless, to cover that distance with 10 days training is still, I said I was going to do it, and I did it. And say if I was talking to a best friend, I would at least say to my best friend, hey, well done, though. You know, I'm sure with 2 or 3 months training, you could knock that out of the park. Come on, like, that's still good. You did the marathon. That shows mental grit. You wanted a mental challenge. You got one. You overcame it. That's a victory. So yeah, so that was really great watching Iman Gadzhi's videos. He said, you know, if you just get your BAM done, your bare ass minimum, and you've got to plan your day ideally the night before, then that's a victory. That is another step forward, rather than saying to yourself, you failed, you failed, you failed, you failed, because the brain starts to then associate pain to trying to take steps forward. So yeah, this is a long video, but they're the 2 lessons. I started this off saying this is going to be short. I thought I'd try and do this in 2 or 3 minutes, but it didn't happen. I'm using this as a journaling time, clearly. But yeah, they're the 2 big lessons, are that's my big rock. So I'm going to set a timer that's going to go off at 8:50 or something on a countdown timer. I'm going to reach out to James to get accountability, my other friend, and another James, and be wary of this perfectionism thing. Set my BAM today, and regardless, celebrate that as a win. It's difficult to do that when you've got so much to do and you feel massively behind, but I think there's just no alternative. To beat yourself up, you start associating pain. Anyway, it's time to go outside and get some daylight, 1,500 steps. I've done my mobility, cold shower, meditation, prayed, read. I'm actually reading through a book in the Bible called Romans at the minute. Yeah, there are things called commentaries on the Bible where people give their thoughts on what the Bible is saying, who've maybe understood the languages like the Greek and the Aramaic that the Bible was written in. And that can be helpful because sometimes just reading it, you need to read things a few times. But it's an interesting book for sure. I wouldn't recommend it if you were just starting. I would probably start with one of the accounts of Jesus' life. If you're interested in faith, then Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John in the Bible would be the place to start. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the minute. It's very interesting. I've never read this before. So yeah, that's the end of this video. My BAM today is, in my mind, I've got that set out, and then also to get this accountability, and I'll see how this works out.